this convention is Donald Trump is a bad man. He screwed up COVID. Did we mention he was a bad man? Did we mention that he screwed up COVID? That's most of what the dominant message is. We got a little subordinate theme line there in Bernie Sanders and AOC and Elizabeth Warren. Remember, Joe, you promised us you'd do all these strange and radical things. So that's a subordinate theme. Republicans ought to learn from this that it is best to have a forward-looking agenda and to strike some notes of optimism. Yes, you need to contrast the differences between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, but the American people are desperate to know what the second act of Donald Trump is. They're not going to be satisfied, I suspect, with what they've seen thus far and what we might get tonight from one speech about what the first act is for Joe Biden, because most of this has been, as I said, Donald Trump is a bad person and he screwed up COVID. So number one is to do that. Number two is look, the tone has to be optimistic and forward-looking. There has to be a sense of, yeah, we're in a tough time. We have to acknowledge bad economy. We have to admit, we're facing a pandemic, but we have to have optimism that we can overcome it. And the president can draw attention to people who, both on the economy and on beating the pandemic, are doing great things that are indicative of the American spirit.
Karl, one of the things that Democrats like to seize on is the Republicans who had prominent roles in this. Obviously, John Kasich, the Ohio governor, the former presidential candidate, who obviously was prominently featured on the first night to show Republicans have had it with Donald Trump. You had Sidney McCain, who all but said, he's my guy, too. That is Joe Biden. And the message they seem to be hinting at here, as well as Colin Powell, who I don't believe has voted Republican since, I don't know, Reagan, but that there is a frustration level among Republicans, and that's reflected here. But does that register with people watching at home?
Well, I think it will depend on tonight. And I wrote this in my Wall Street Journal column today. What is Joe Biden's speech going to be? Is it going to be like Michelle Obama and Bill and her husband? Trump is a bum. Is it going to be like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren? We've got all these left-wing agenda items. Or is it going to be like his wife, who went out of her way to say in the Congress he was the guy who worked across party lines, worked with both parties to get things done? I think that's a dangerous tone. If he takes it, it's going to be problematic for the Republicans. We haven't seen it except for that one moment. She expertly delivered it, preceded by, I thought, a very good video that showed the longstanding relationship between Biden and McCain. But we don't know what's going to happen tonight. But look, that's a message. It doesn't affect a lot of Republicans, but it does affect swing voters who desperately want to hear that. That's why the president, being a deal maker, can also adopt that tone and say, look at the things that I've done that if Democrats admitted it, they like taking on China, criminal justice reform. I'm doing things that both parties have failed to do, and I did it because I was able to bring people in both parties together, even if the other side won't admit it.